All right. Good evening, everybody. So my very special guest here, Dr. Peter Amlinger, and we have just made it through our technical glitches of the evening. And I agree with Pete. Technology can be a pain in the butt, and it's also a wonderful tool. The tool is allowing us to connect with Peter way on the other side of Canada and to connect with many people around the world this evening. So we welcome all of you here, and Peter, thanks for jumping on board.
Thanks for having me. I'm going on the record as saying I still prefer smoke signals and drums.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So this is a real-time live conversation, and so everybody who is tuning in this evening, please drop your comments in the hello bar in your comment section. What I'd love to hear from you is just a hi, and if you want to put in where you're from, that'd be excellent. We'd love to hear that. And Peter, I know you well. You've been my chiropractor for a couple of years of my life. You've toggled me probably over 100 times. I've been to your work.
We're breaking up a little.
Okay. And what I'd like to start with, Pete, is if you could share with our people just a bit about your background and perhaps how you got interested in chiropractic.
Well, my background is I've been a chiropractor for 32 years. I am a CMCC graduate from 1985 class. Graduated at the top of my class, and really, I was going to be a phys ed and French teacher up till the end of grade 11, and I happened to be in the guidance office on the last day of school at the end of grade 11, and I picked up a book which happened to be the CMCC course calendar. Opened it up, I read the definition of chiropractic, and something inside me said, this is what you're supposed to do with your life. And I said, okay. So from that point on, I just geared up towards being a chiropractor, became a better student, and just everything became easy at that point in time. It just flowed, and got into college and did really well in school, and a lot of students complain about school when they're in chiropractic college because it is a lot of work, and I just loved it from the get-go because I was getting to learn about life and the principle, and was able to observe the principle at work and in whatever course it happened to be, whether it was microbiology or neuroanatomy. You can just see that there's intelligent design behind everything, and the principle just kept proving itself over and over and over to me.
I agree with you. I think with our studies, we realize that the principle is really self-evident. It shows itself over and over again. And I'm curious, right from the get-go in school, did you have this clear understanding of the principles, or was there a process or something that led you to that?
You know what? I think I was blessed in that I had a couple of teachers in high school, one being Mo Targus, who was very tuned in and plugged in, and he taught me many things, being one of them being how to fly fish and tie flies, but he was tuned in, and he was a positive thinker, and then when I got to chiropractic college, I was lucky enough to have I had Becky Whitney Douglas in my class, and her father was an outstanding chiropractor named John Whitney. Brett Moore, who's a second-generation chiropractor, was in the fourth-year class ahead of me. We hooked up. So I never really thought about it. We all know CMCC is not a principled school, but it just seemed to be there, and people who were raised in the principle were in my circle, and I never fought it. It just always seemed to be there for me. And even back then, CMCC was CMCC, but the focus was still primarily on the chiropractic adjustment.
Absolutely. And so for people who are tuning in who might not know a lot about the principle, and that's something we're going to be referencing a lot tonight, break it down for a layperson. What is the principle?
So the principle, and I like to take things right back to the beginning. So the major premise upon which chiropractic exists is that a universal intelligence exists in all matter, thus giving its matter its properties and characteristics and maintaining it in existence. So if we translate that into English, it means that there's an intelligent energy governing the universe. And its mission is to maintain harmony and balance within the universe. It gives matter its form, its properties and characteristics. It maintains matter in its state, and it's intelligent by design.
Right. So it's starting with the big picture, and so how does that apply to the average person in their day-to-day lives? How do they apply this big picture philosophy?
Well, and so I'm going to sort of mesh it all together. So if we take that definition, and it's in the early chiropractic philosophy text, it takes that, and as they define universal intelligence, they say it has existed always. It is very intelligent. Being very intelligent means it's never made a mistake. Having never made a mistake means it always works for the highest good, and having these qualities makes it God. So God not in a religious sense, but in a spiritual sense. And our native teachers would refer to it as the spirit that moves through all things, or we might refer to it as universal intelligence or life. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But we've got this infinite, eternal, intelligent energy that's governing the universe. And then it goes on to describe this intelligence and says that it is unlimited. It's our perception of it that's limited, and we can only expand our awareness of it through experience. So we were set into these bodies to experience this intelligence as we do our earth walk. And and then it goes on to say that there is a subunit of universal intelligence separate from, yet not separate from, universal intelligence in all living things. And this intelligence is known as innate intelligence. So that means you have an innate intelligence, I have an innate intelligence, everyone who's listening has an innate intelligence. Every animal, every plant, every fish, every bird, every insect has an innate intelligence that directly connects it to the creative force, to universal intelligence, to the spirit that moves through all things. And we have all the properties and characteristics. So our innates have all the properties and characteristics of universal intelligence, according to Stevenson's textbook. And its mission is to maintain us in a state of active organization. So if we live fully connected to our innate intelligence, that means we can express all of our potential, whether it be, in our case as human beings, academic potential, creative potential, healing potential, adaptive potential, athletic potential, in fact, human potential, if we're fully connected to it. So if we look at all of that and pull it all together, we've got this intelligence flowing from universal intelligence down into us through our innate intelligence, happens to use our nervous system to express itself. That's its vehicle for expression in complex animals as ourselves. And so if our innate's flowing over our nervous system as mental impulse without interference, we can capture our potential, develop it, and express it and share it with creation. Make sense?
Beautiful. Love it. And so I want to, yep, go ahead.
So there's another level, and that level is not only that, it also means we're plugged into Great Spirit all the time. We are always plugged into source energy. And so D.J. Palmer, who's the founder of Chiropractic Sun and the developer of chiropractic, wrote an article called Broadcasting Station GOD. and he likened us all to the old-fashioned heterodyne radio sets. And those who are too young to know what that is, that's a radio set with dials that you had to tune in. And if it wasn't perfectly tuned in, there was static in the line. So that means that we can tune in, and I believe there's a divine design for our life that we can pull down from above down, from within out, if we're fully connected, fully clear of interference. And that's where chiropractic comes into play at its highest level. It fine-tunes the link between us and source energy so we can discern the walk that we're supposed to, path that we're supposed to take in our life from above down, inside out. So we talk about above down, inside out in chiropractic, and most people think above down, inside out. I think it's above down, inside out, and that was a big distinction for me. Absolutely. Love it. This is great conversation here. And for people tuning in, we'd love to hear your comments, even if it's just a simple comment of like, right on, Pete, we appreciate this. Heather Lynn drops in. She says, Peter, I love how you were already listening to Innate and trusting the flow before starting your chiropractic journey. It's right on. So one of the biggest questions that we get in our community is, how do people know whether they're tuned in to their innate or to their ego? Well, and that's a great question. We get a lot too, and chiropractors ask me that a lot as well. So and so do preachers. So it's not an uncommon question. And I think in my lifetime and in the mentors I've had, a fellow by the name of Dr. Sid Williams taught me something called the dynamic essential. And the dynamic essential is defined as the new spirit born into the consciousness of a man or a woman when they become aware of, loyal to, humble to, and obedient to the will of God within themselves. And so that God being the God within, our innate intelligence, which connects us to universal intelligence. And so when you read Dr. Sid's writings, and when you're around Dr. Sid, you could observe how tuned in and how plugged in he was. And BJ writes about it extensively in his green books as well. And you're tuned in, and that it's your innate talking when whatever you're receiving is accompanied by a state of peace and ease. So it's always, even though the task that your innate is commanding you to do might not be easy, it is ease-filled, right? And so for me, it's about being that dynamic essential, right? So Dr. Sid was all about increasing our awareness of this connection within and cultivating it, so we would be inner-directed men and women, spirit-guided men and women, and working from this place of ease, but of great power. And he said that once you receive the dynamic essential, or accepted it, or however you want to describe it, you became dynamic, and that's essential to one's life, right? And so by that, he meant you become magnetic. You start attracting those opportunities and those people and those situations that are vital to your evolution, according to the divine design. And so what I have discovered over the years is that it's always, as Dr. Sid taught me, it's accompanied just by this inner peace and this sense, just like when, at the end of grade 11, I just knew, when I read that paragraph, I was overwhelmed by this sense of peace, and I just felt it and heard it, and it's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so, and there was just zero doubt in my mind at that point in time. So it was complete certainty that filled my being. And so having worked with that and worked with people over the years, I become aware of a consistency between everybody as to where we can really get in and connect with it. And there's a piece out of the Green Books, out of Stevenson's textbook again, that I love, and it says the existence of innate intelligence is factual. Sorry, the existence of the innate brain is factual. Its location is theoretical.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know where it is within us, right? And we always assume chiropractically that it's in the nervous system. Me being an upper cervically focused chiropractor, I always really wanted it to be right here, and I thought it was right here. And then I started playing around with something called heart rate variability, and I started doing some breath work. And I also learned meditation based on breath from an elder, and it all involved opening up your heart space. And so what I've come to understand, and some people refer to it as coherence. So when we're connected to our innate, and we're never not connected to our innate, but when we're tuned into our innate, when there's no static in the line, we go into a state of coherence. And our heart space, our heart brain starts running the show. We start living from a parasympathetically dominated nervous system. So physiologically, we feel that state of inner peace and ease. And you almost feel like you're breathing from the middle of your chest, and that your energy's flowing. They've measured that electromagnetic field that emanates from that space, and it's large. And we can enlarge it, and all sorts of magic happens. You become more self-aware and more aware of your environment when you're in that state of coherence. And so I believe that if we can acquaint ourselves with that part of ourselves and maintain that relationship, we can use that as our inner guidance system. So, and it sounds corny, but if I'm looking at a menu, and my heart's, and I'm in coherence, and I'm looking down, and it's like, if it says, I see kale salad, and I start to feel like I'm losing that state of coherence, and I start to feel this center of my chest tighten down a bit, it's like, I'm not eating kale salad today. If I see steak and eggs and I feel everything sort of expand and open up, it's like, well, it's a steak and eggs kind of day today, right? And I just go with it. And there's some people who have mastered this relationship, so they could use that to determine, and I'm not suggesting anybody do this without training, but you can train yourself to identify wild edibles that are safe to eat, for example, in a survival situation, or, so we can rely on this inner guidance system in all parts of our life. So the breath work happens. For me, the most efficient way of getting there is chiropractic adjustment, and when I'll do pre and post heart rate variability scans on people, and we'll do a scan, we'll adjust their upper neck, and then we'll redo another scan, and it's amazing how they just jump into the state of coherence. So then it's just, instead of rushing back out into life, it's just slowing down and pausing and saying, okay, I'm now aware of what this place feels like. And then you can teach yourself how to maintain that relationship and start to live from that space all the time, and just instead of visiting it every now and again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you touch on a good point there. I think for a lot of people, they may not even know that this is possible or have had the experience of true coherence. And so learning to go right back to your original message about witnessing life force, life principles in action. We can witness when we are tapped into this force and when we're starting to shut down. It's great. So I wanted to share just a quick story right now. Before I do jump on people into the conversation, people who are tuning in, I see there's a lot of you and our numbers are growing here this evening, which is great. And we want to hear from you. Throw in a comment, question, Peter's up for questions tonight. This is a really wonderful opportunity to tap into a wise man here who's been studying the principle of chiropractic for a number of years. And the story I wanted to touch on, Pete, was a experience I had with you back at DE, Dynamic Essentials in Atlanta. And it was an adjustment that I received from you. And I had first received a network entrainment. I had felt myself really open, and then I was just guided to get onto your table. And that evening, there would have been probably 15 or 20 people lined up to get it toggled by you. And I was next. I lied down, and you sat on my atlas, and right the moment, just split second before you toggled me, your eye caught my eye, and it was just this glisten in both of our, I saw it in your eye. It was like this twinkle in your eye. And then the toggle was like pure. It was bang on. It was so wonderful to receive. And I sat up, and the experience afterwards, I had about 15, 20 minutes afterwards, and it progressively built. And what I experienced, number one, was my crown chakra opened to a degree that I'd never felt it open. And then from there, my heart chakra opened. And I felt I had to sit down, and really, like, the energy that was moving through me, I was left, I couldn't really talk or orientate myself all that well in the moment. But I just felt this channel of energy flowing from above down out my heart. And it was just, this energy was coming through me. And throughout that night, for the next, it would have been 4 or 5 hours, I had people coming up to me who were just magnetically attracted to me, workers from the staff who came up and they said, "Hey, I know you're a chiropractor. Can you adjust me?" I had no idea who they were. They were just coming to me. And so I think this relates to what you're speaking about in regards to coherence.
Absolutely. That's the deal, and that's the place we want to live from. And there's no reason that can't happen with every. It's not funny. It's interesting that we adjust many people, and it's not uncommon for our people to leave, and then 5 minutes later they'll come back in the office and get their car keys, or their glasses, or their wallet, or whatever it might be. So it's just, so we got to learn, we don't want to do that, but we do want to be in that open space, because when you're in that space, you're in a position where you can then become aware of what your gifts are, right? And then you can start developing those gifts so you can share them with humanity. So it's really about it's about opening up that inner space where we can take an inward journey in to discover what I call our inner vision board. And so and envisioning our future and planning our life to some degree, even though we want to be innately guided. That's kind of paradoxical to me. How can you plan your life when you want to be in the moment, right? You can. The way you do it is you get quiet, you go inside, and you go on an inner vision quest. And you don't do any planning, and you don't do any goal setting until your vision shows up, right? And so you have to get to this state in order for that to happen. Does that make sense? So, yeah. So when we can create this space, whether it's by an adjustment, which I said is the most efficient means, breath work, meditation. Some people do it by running. Somebody might do it by creating music. Other people might do it by cooking. Doesn't matter. You got to find your portal, so to speak. But once you get in there, then the vision for your life will simply show up. Sid always talked about it showing up in a moment of distraction, right? Which was probably where I was back in that guidance office. But once it shows up and you catch that vision for your life, then you start to become aware of the gifts and talents that you have. And when we surrender to the dynamic essential, it becomes apparent to us that just as we have this spirit running through us, everyone else has the same spirit, but they have a unique set of personality traits, of gifts and skills and talents. And so that as they become aware of those and they develop them, they can then move to a position where they can share their gifts with humanity. So even if you're, so there's no point in comparing chiropractors, for example. We're all supposed to be different, right? It's the same principle working through us. The process and the type of person we attract into our space might be different and should be different. So there's really no competition anymore. There's just cooperation. And so really what all of our purposes on the earth we share the same purpose, and that is to become the dynamic essential, become aware of our gifts and talents, develop them and master them so we can share them with humanity. And so to bring it all sort of full circle, when we think about that and think about where we started, we said universal intelligence is God, which I'm completely fine with. And a lot of people are. And some people are just at a point in their development where they have a problem with the word God. And I honor the fact that they're at some point in their development where they have a problem with the word God. But let's think about that. And if we go to the Bible, and I'm not going all Bible on people, if we go to the Bible, we can describe God as what in the Bible? God is love, right? God is love. God is life. God is light. Mm-hmm. So to me, the highest vibration is unconditional love. So if we can all move towards a state of unconditional love, that's when we become most dynamic. That's when we become most self-aware and aware of the gifts that the Creator gave us when He loved us into existence, right? And so I've discovered by accident that really we all share the same purpose, and that is to learn to love ourselves unconditionally. And because then we're in a position to teach others to do the same. Mm. And you and I get to do it through this gift called chiropractic, right?
Beautiful. Lots of great messages there. I'm hearing that really starts at home with self-love. And, yep. I wanted to build on that. I did some coaching with you. We worked together it was well over a year. And we had some great conversations through that time, one-on-one on the phone. And one of the things that you taught me way back then was the Ho'oponopono prayer. And that prayer has stuck with me, and it was one of the key ingredients that my mom used to heal herself. She was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer in the spring of last year. And, there was lots of different things that she used, but definitely the Ho'oponopono was a huge piece to it. So we thank you for that, and bring it right back to love.
And I got that from a book called Zero Limits. So if anyone wants to visit and investigate that concept, it's in Zero Limits.
That's great. So I'm going to pull up a question here, Pete. Right here. This is from Susan Hepburn. And Susan asks, is it possible to live in a state of innate intelligence connection 24/7?
Yes, it's possible, but it ain't easy. People, I get a kick when people come in, they say, I'm just taking it one day at a time, Doc. And I say, that's ambitious. Like I'm trying like a minute at a time.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing is, and we could have a philosophical argument about it. And it's like, no, because then you wouldn't know the difference and blah, blah. But the absolute answer is yes, you can. Yes, it is possible. Has anybody ever done it? Don't know. That'd be a good discussion, right? Mm-hmm. But it is possible, and it should be our desire and our practice to move towards that every day.
Absolutely. And I think that brings it right back to the beingness. You were talking about tonight's talk, and it was, hey, Norm, it's going to be about the dynamic essential. And then no, it's the beingness of the dynamic essential. And it brings us to the present moment. Each moment, it's like we're tuned in, tapped in, and navigating our lives from that present state.
And that's really the deal. And so if we can sort of make that practical, let's say you have a goal. Could be any goal. Let's say the goal is to I don't know, lose 20 pounds. And you're sitting there in this quiet state, and you just get this thought flash, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And you get a picture of yourself and what you would look like 20 pounds lighter. And it feels great, and your body's filled with this tremendous sensation of peace and ease. So it's an innate vision. Well, what's next? Well, you could go into your left brain and start thinking your way through it. Or you could just say, okay, from this point on, I'm going to hold that vision of myself 20 pounds lighter, and my innate will guide my action steps from this point forward. So if you held that vision, you could walk through a bakery, and your innate would keep you focused on the water cooler at the end of the bakery, and you'd be inspired to have a glass of water. And I know it sounds dumb, but it happens. You could be addicted to Oreo cookies. And if you got this innate vision and this vision of yourself 20 pounds lighter, and you just surrendered to it, your addiction would lose power over you.
Right on. Excellent.
Right? Over the cookies. And so really then, the being part of it is you just hold that vision and let your innate guide your action steps. You don't need to develop a meal plan. You don't need to develop an exercise plan. You need to wake up every day and tune into it through breath, or by getting adjusted, or quiet reflection, or whatever you choose to do, listening to some music, doing yoga. But you tune into it, and you get yourself in that space, and then you let it guide. And you might look at the Oreo cookie jar, and you just feel tension building in your body. It's like my innate doesn't want me to go there, right? It's shutting down. And Joe Accurso, a great chiropractor and a great friend of mine, he taught me something huge. 25 years ago probably, he said to me, Peter, innate never says don't eat the cookie. Innate says eat the ice cream. Right? And so, and I had to think about it for a bit, but innate doesn't talk in negatives. It doesn't say don't. It doesn't say don't cross the street. It would say stop. You got to get that's subtle but huge. It speaks in a command that's action oriented. Stop, or eat the ice cream, or drink the water. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at something, and if you're not getting if you're not getting an eat the ice cream, that non-response is a response, and it's like
Got it. Excellent. Absolutely.
So that's really the whole essence of being. It's just being in that moment, having tuned in and caught your inner vision, and then just trusting that the action steps and the opportunities and the people and the support and whatever it is going to be there along the way, and just trusting that.
Absolutely. Hey, I love this conversation. Pete, I've oscillated. There's been times where I've had strong goals and I've really gotten clear in writing these down. And then there's other times where I've been more in the flow, more innate driven. And I certainly am there in my life right now. And what I remark in is how, when I do have that clear vision and I surrender my kind of ego and my planning, and I connect to my inner wisdom, is that then I enter into more of a co-creative dance with the universe. And things will pop up, opportunities, teachers, or invitations that I could have never planned, through my mind. And so I think there's something special that really opens up when we start being more in the flow and more connected with the moment.
Yeah, and I think co-creating might be a bit of an illusion to satisfy our egos.
Okay.
I think it's unfoldment, personally, and who knows, right? But the interesting thing, and I, the whole goal setting thing, and the trap people fall into is they don't go inside first. So they go to a seminar, or they read a book, or they hear a speaker, or they see an interview on TV, and they take somebody else's goal and they try to make it their own. And that's an outside-in process, and it will fill your body with tension, and you will start comparing yourself to that other person, and you'll actually separate yourself from your gift and from the present. And we've all done goal setting that way, right? We've all had times in our lives where we've held somebody else's definition of success for ourselves, and it's never comfortable. And it's not a good ending either, because a lot of people have gotten there and they went, is that all there is? So the most important step in the process is to get quiet and go inside first and wait for the vision. Whether it's for a goal in your business or in your personal life or in your health life, go inside and catch the vision first. Mm-hmm. Right? As an example, somebody could be diagnosed with an illness of some sort. So my advice to them would be go inside and get a picture of yourself totally healthy first. Completely restored, fully healthy, and vital. And you get that picture, and then you start moving on your journey towards that endpoint, and you hold it. There's a firm vision, and that then becomes that creates a vibration that attracts those tools into your life that will be important for your healing. It's chiropractic, whether it's certain meditation, maybe it's some nutrition, maybe it's some allopathic medicine. Who knows, right? It's not, being principled means listening to your innate. It doesn't mean denying anything that is unnatural necessarily. I haven't had a drug in my body since I'm 18 years old, so that's not true. When I broke my wrist, they did use general anesthetic. So I have had, but that I'm okay with that, because it would have been uncomfortable doing what they did, lying there watching them. But you need to. But then what happened afterwards? As an example, I had a vision of myself fully restored, completely healed, back doing everything I love to do in life. And I came back down from the North Country in Ontario, where I was, to where I live, and the orthopedic surgeon I hooked up down here said, we have to undo all that and put screws and plates in there instead of the external fixation that was on it. And I said, no. He said, you got some time to think about it. And I was leaving the hospital, and I phoned Tracy, my wife, and told her what was going on. And then I just hit me. A calmness and a peace came over me. And the message was, everything that needs to be done has been done. Mm-hmm. So I got home and I shared that with Tracy, and she said, well, then that's all we're doing. Right? So I had an option, more medical intervention or not. The advice was coming from the most highly regarded hand surgeon, hand and wrist guy in my area. But my innate said, everything that needs to be done has been done. So we trusted in that, and we just stayed the course. And I got checked 3 times a day and adjusted as necessary. I meditated 3 times a day and saw it perfectly healthy and envisioned myself doing all the things I love to do. And it healed up perfectly, right? So there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's an innately guided way to do it, or the opposite, whatever that looks like. So what it comes down to is making that choice that you uncovered within yourself while in a state of peace and connection, versus making choices out of fear. That's really what it boils down to, or guilt. right? So if you're making choices based on guilt, you're living in the past. If you're making choices out of fear, you're living in the future. Both pull you out of the present.
Right. Beautiful. Lots of great wisdom here. Awesome, Pete. Thanks so much for joining us. Rachel, I'm reading your question here now, and I think Peter's given you tons of tips on that already. So, Pete, we're just about to pull things together here. Somebody that I know you're very fond of is BJ Palmer. And I would love to hear, and BJ was really the founder of the developer of the Innate philosophy and tuning into Innate. I'd love to hear your favorite BJ quote.
Well, and you told me you were going to ask me this, which is not living in the moment. I have to point that out. But and I thought about it, and it with as much as I've studied BJ, it would be impossible to have a favorite. So, but I've got a couple. One of them is that we have to bring our application, we have to increase our efficiency in the application of the principle to the level of the efficiency of the principle. So you think about that, and it's like, when are we done? If the principle is infinite in nature, how can we ever be as efficient as the principle itself? Which means the path to mastery has no endpoint. We got to constantly be growing and investing in our growth and practicing our skill and mastering in chiropractic our ability to detect and correct subluxations and communicate the chiropractic principle, right? So that one popped into mind. And then another one popped into mind that says chiropractic keeps open the paths to transmission of unlimited intellectually between source and God and expression in man. Right. So to me, that's the highest purpose of a chiropractic adjustment. But then the one that just popped up, because I didn't have the green book that it comes from in front of me, comes from actually D.D. Palmer. And it is in the dedication in his book, The Chiropractic Adjuster. And he said in the dedication, he says, to those men and women who are dedicated to helping humankind prepare for the next stage of their metaphysical existence, this book is most earnestly dedicated. I love that, right? Like, so right from the first book and the to the thought behind, the inspiration behind D.D. Palmer was for those of us who are dedicated to helping people walk along the good red road.
Okay, we lost you just for that last bit. You said about walking the red road. Can you repeat that?
So to me, it inspires me to think that as D.D. Palmer wrote the first book on chiropractic and wrote the dedication, he dedicated it to those men and women who were willing to commit their lives to helping people walk their path along the great red road, preparing for what's next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got it. Excellent. Thanks for reiterating that. Wow.
No worries.
Okay. Hey, we could continue on here for another hour. I'm sure I'd love to, actually. But we're going to bring it to a full circle. Peter, I know that you have a very fast flow in your life. You're up to a lot of great things. If people did want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Email me at dr.peteramlinger@me.com.
Okay, excellent. I know you're on Facebook a bit too. You guys can like.
I'm on. Yeah, Facebook works too. Yeah, that's a good way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. And if you're in the area, go and check Peter out at his Pure and Powerful, fabulous workshop. I'm going to get there back there real soon. And Peter, I just want to thank you for your time today, and most important, your love and your commitment to the principle and serving mankind. You are a leader, and you've touched my life in many, many ways. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
It's been fun staring at your face for the past few moments and reconnecting, and thanks for having me. It was fun, and it's really an honor to share with your community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pete. All right. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in. The innate in me blesses the innate in you. And may you take Peter's words and attune to the wisdom within. Okay, everyone. Be well. We'll catch you next time.